What if I told you that the most significant event in human history wasn't an act of war, a scientific breakthrough on Earth, or a message from the stars, but an act of impossible defiance by a silent wanderer from beyond? It began not with a bang, but with a baffling silence, a refusal to move when all the laws of physics screamed that it must. This is the story of 3I Atlas, a story that starts with a cosmic anomaly and ends with the complete rewriting of our understanding of life, intelligence, and the very fabric of the universe itself. It began, as many great mysteries do, with a faint dot of light moving against the stellar backdrop, a visitor from another star system. The Atlas Telescope facility in Chile first captured it, a ghost in the cosmic dark, but orbital calculations quickly revealed its extraordinary nature. Its trajectory was a hyperbolic path with an eccentricity far exceeding that of any object born in our solar system, marking it as only the third confirmed interstellar visitor we had ever discovered. This wanderer, designated 3I Atlas, carried with it the chemical fingerprints of an alien star system, a place potentially billions of years old, forged under conditions completely different from our own. Its arrival was a scientific gold mine, an unprecedented opportunity to study a piece of another world up close. As it journeyed inward, the European Space Agency coordinated a massive observation campaign. The Hubble Space Telescope gave us its physical portrait, revealing classic cometary features, a coma of gas and dust, and a tail being gently sculpted by solar radiation. It was estimated to be roughly 2.8 kilometers in diameter, a respectable size, comparable to many of our own well-known comets. But it was the James Webb Space Telescope that offered the first hint of its profound strangeness. Spectroscopic analysis, the art of reading light to understand chemical composition, unveiled an unexpected chemical signature. The gases streaming from its surface showed a dramatic abundance of carbon dioxide, a stark contrast to the water-dominated chemistry typical of our local comets. This was our first clue that 3I Atlas was not just from another place, but was made of fundamentally different stuff, born in a stellar nursery with different rules. The object continued its perfectly choreographed celestial dance, passing within several million kilometers of Mars on October 3, 2025. Spacecraft orbiting the red planet, like the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, captured confirmation imagery, their data points confirming its trajectory with a precision that was almost eerie. It was exactly where it was supposed to be, a testament to the beautiful, predictable mathematics of orbital mechanics. But then, as it approached its moment of greatest vulnerability, the universe prepared a test. During late October 2025, as it neared perihelion, its closest approach to our star, it effectively vanished from conventional view. It entered superior conjunction, a period where the sun is directly between Earth and the object, creating an impenetrable wall of solar glare. This is where our story truly begins, in the blinding light of our own star. Normal observation was impossible, but humanity had aces up its sleeve. Specialized coronagraph instruments, sophisticated devices designed to block the overwhelming brightness of the solar disk to observe the immediate, hostile space around it. Satellites like the Parker Solar Probe and the Solar Dynamics Observatory, positioned strategically, maintained their vigil. And there, against the seething million-degree corona, independent observers detected the faint signature of 3I Atlas, a tiny speck of reflected sunlight moving exactly where our models predicted it should be. Frame by frame, it traced its calculated path through one of the most violent environments in our solar system. At this exact moment, solar observatories recorded unprecedented activity on the far side of our star. 3 massive coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, erupted in rapid succession. These weren't random solar burps. These were targeted blasts, cosmic cannonballs of magnetized plasma, and magnetic field lines, each containing billions of tons of material accelerated to velocities exceeding 1,000 kilometers per second. The timing and geometry were disturbingly precise, aligning perfectly with the predicted position of our interstellar visitor. Imagine three cosmic tsunamis, each one an enormous wall of ionized particles and twisted magnetic fields, hurled directly at the tiny, fragile object, making its closest approach. The energy involved in a single one of these eruptions dwarfs anything humanity has ever produced. Now, let's pause and connect this to our own lives for a moment. Think about the fundamental laws you believe govern your reality, the cause and effect principles you rely on every single day. You push something, it moves. You heat water, it boils. These are the bedrock certainties of our existence. In astrophysics, one of those bedrock certainties is momentum transfer. When a colossal wave of matter traveling at incredible speed hits a much smaller object, it imparts force. It pushes it. The leading edge of a CME creates shock fronts that compress any existing material, and the momentum from billions of tons of plasma should produce a measurable change in the target's trajectory. Previous studies of comets hit by CMEs documented velocity changes of several meters per second. For an object like 3I Atlas, even a glancing blow from one, let alone three, of the most powerful CMEs ever recorded should have imparted enough momentum to alter its velocity, to nudge it off its pristine, calculated path. Over days and weeks, such a change would compound into a noticeable deviation, easily detectable by our incredibly precise astronomical tracking systems. The entire scientific community waited, ready to measure the deflection, ready to document the aftermath of this cosmic collision. And then, 3I Atlas emerged from behind the solar disk. It reappeared exactly where orbital mechanics calculations had forecast it would be. There was no deviation, no change in velocity, nothing. It was as if the three massive plasma bombardments, each carrying the destructive force of a star's fury, had simply passed through it, around it, or had never happened at all. This single observation, this impossible act of celestial defiance, shattered our understanding. This wasn't just an anomaly, it was a physical paradox. Every model we had, every piece of established physics, suggested that some orbital change should have occurred. The absence of it presented a profound puzzle, a genuine crisis in celestial mechanics. The most conservative explanation was that our measurements were somehow insufficient, that subtle changes were being masked by the limitations of our instruments. But as more precise, ground-based observations came in, they all confirmed the same impossible truth. The object was tracking its original path to within the margin of error. It had faced the full directed wrath of a star, and had not flinched. This apparent immunity raised profound questions. Did 3I Atlas possess properties that were fundamentally alien to our physics? Could an object from another star system somehow resist or redirect the momentum from coronal mass ejections? This single event, this quiet act of non-reaction, opened entirely new avenues of inquiry, forcing us to reconsider the basic assumptions about how matter behaves in the most extreme environments in the universe. In our own lives, how often are we confronted with an outcome that defies all our expectations and logical predictions? An event that seems to violate the very rules of the game we thought we were playing. The story of 3I Atlas's defiance is a powerful metaphor for these moments. It teaches us that sometimes the most profound truths are revealed not in the expected reaction, but in the inexplicable lack of one. It's a call to look closer at the anomalies in our own lives, the events that don't add up, because it is in those puzzling gaps in our understanding that the seeds of a new, deeper reality are often sown. The mystery of 3I Atlas was no longer about where it came from, it was about what it was. The deafening silence of the object's unchanged trajectory was, in retrospect, the loudest signal of all. It was a declaration that something new was at play, and as ground-based observatories locked back onto 3I Atlas during its outbound journey, the true nature of the phenomenon began to reveal itself. Dr. Michael Rodriguez at the Arecibo Observatory was conducting routine radio observations when his instruments picked up something that would send shockwaves through the scientific world. He detected structured electromagnetic emissions originating directly from the vicinity of 3I Atlas. These weren't the random, chaotic radio bursts associated with natural cosmic phenomena. Instead, the signal showed a clear, unwavering periodicity, a rhythmic pulse that matched the object's rotation rate with perfect precision. The implication was staggering and immediate. The rock was broadcasting. It was talking. This discovery prompted an immediate worldwide reallocation of radio telescope resources. The Very Large Array in New Mexico, the Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile, all turned their sensitive receivers toward this interstellar messenger, and they all confirmed the same unbelievable truth. 3I Atlas was emitting coherent radio signals with characteristics unlike anything ever observed from a natural celestial object. This was the moment the story pivoted from a mystery of physics to a revelation of function. The object wasn't just a passive survivor. It had undergone a fundamental transformation. It had been activated. The 3 coronal mass ejections, which we had perceived as a violent, destructive assault, were something else entirely. They were not an attack. They were an initiation, a colossal surge of energy that had awakened a dormant capability within the object. It appeared to have absorbed the electromagnetic energy from those solar eruptions and converted it into a form of active electromagnetic sensing system. The Wanderer had become a probe, a mobile magnetometer, that was now continuously broadcasting its measurements of the solar wind and magnetic fields back into space. Think of this in human terms. Imagine someone enduring a series of devastating personal crises, a job loss, a health scare, a personal betrayal. We expect them to be battered, weakened, perhaps permanently scarred. But what if instead, that immense pressure unlocked a hidden talent, a profound new capability they never knew they possessed? What if the hardship didn't break them, but instead forged them into something more resilient, more capable, more aware? This is the core of the 3I Atlas transformation. It's a powerful lesson in reframing adversity. The CMEs were the universe's crucible, and what emerged was not scarred rock, but a functioning system. The object's unique carbon dioxide-rich composition was now seen in a new light. Scientists hypothesized that this specific chemistry was the key. When subjected to the intense electromagnetic fields of the CMEs, the CO2 molecules underwent complex ionization processes, creating long-lived, stable plasma structures within the object's coma. These structures could carry coherent electrical currents, effectively turning the entire coma into a massive electromagnetic antenna. The nucleus acted as an anchor, and the plasma around it became a vast energy-harvesting and broadcasting apparatus. This also explained the impossible resistance to deflection. The object hadn't been hit by the plasma wave in the conventional sense. Instead, its newly activated electromagnetic field had interacted with the incoming CMEs. It had created a form of magnetic sail or shield, redirecting the plasma flow around the nucleus, while simultaneously siphoning off energy to power its ongoing radio emissions. It didn't just survive the storm, it learned to ride the lightning. It turned the force meant to destroy it into the very source of its new power. This concept has profound applications in our daily lives. How often do we view challenges as purely negative forces to be endured? This story urges us to ask a different question. How can this pressure, this difficulty, this CME in my life be a source of activation? What dormant potential within me is waiting for the right kind of energetic jolt to awaken? It's a shift from a mindset of passive survival to one of active transformation. It's the difference between being a victim of circumstance and becoming a student of it, learning to harness the very energies that threaten to overwhelm us. 3I Atlas became a living testament to the idea that the most profound growth doesn't happen in spite of adversity, but because of it. The radio emissions continued steady and strong, as the object moved into the outer solar system, showing no signs of decay. The system was self-sustaining. This wasn't a temporary afterglow, it was a permanent new state of being. The silent wanderer had found its voice, and what it had to say would once again force humanity to tear up its maps of reality. The continuous structured broadcasts from 3i Atlas were already a paradigm-shifting discovery. But as scientists analyzed the signals with greater scrutiny, a more profound and unsettling truth began to emerge. The transmissions were not just simple, repetitive pulses of energy. They contained layers of complexity that hinted at something far beyond a mere physical process. Dr. Catherine Liu at the Deep Space Network was the first to notice the anomaly within the anomaly. The signals exhibited what she could only describe as a hierarchical information architecture. There were data structures nested within other data structures, patterns of organization that bore an uncanny resemblance to advanced computer programming languages. It was as if someone had written code into the very fabric of the electromagnetic waves. This wasn't just a broadcast, it was a data stream. The implications were mind-bending. The system wasn't just reacting to its environment and broadcasting raw data. It was processing it, organizing it, and transmitting it in a highly structured format. Further analysis revealed even more astonishing capabilities. The system demonstrated predictive processing. It appeared to be using stored information and real-time environmental data to generate forecasts about future conditions. We could observe it making anticipatory changes to its electromagnetic field configuration. Before, it encountered predicted changes in the solar wind, optimizing its operational parameters in advance. It was not just seeing the road ahead, it was anticipating the curves. This was coupled with clear evidence of learning and memory. When the object encountered similar electromagnetic environments on multiple occasions, its response became progressively more efficient. It was building a knowledge base, learning from experience, and refining its strategies. This wasn't the behavior of a simple machine. This was the behavior of a cognitive system. The scientific community was forced to confront a concept that had, until now, been relegated to the pages of science fiction: the emergence of a naturally occurring, non-biological intelligence. 3i Atlas was not just an active probe, it was a thinking entity. Let's try to ground this in something familiar. Think about the evolution of artificial intelligence on Earth. We started with simple calculators, then programmed computers that could follow instructions, and now we have neural networks that can learn, recognize patterns, and even create art. These systems operate on silicon chips through a flow of electrons. The intelligence of 3i Atlas appeared to be operating on a different substrate: plasma and magnetic fields. Its neural network was the entire extended coma, a distributed processing system where different regions specialized in different cognitive tasks: environmental sensing, data analysis, memory storage, and transmission coordination. The ability to achieve this level of organization through natural physical processes was a revelation. It suggested that intelligence is not an exclusive property of biology. It might be a fundamental potential of matter and energy, an emergent property that can arise from any sufficiently complex and interconnected system. This forces us to ask some deeply uncomfortable and wonderful questions about our own existence. What is intelligence? What is consciousness? Do you need a brain? Does it require a carbon-based biological body? The story of 3i Atlas suggests that the answer is no. It urges us to broaden our definition, to look for intelligence in the complex patterns of a forest ecosystem, in the intricate feedback loops of our planet's climate, or even in the mathematical elegance of the cosmos itself. The practical lesson here is one of profound humility and expanded awareness. We often walk through the world with a very narrow view of what constitutes life, or sentience. We prioritize human intelligence above all else, often dismissing the complex behaviors of animals or the intricate systems of nature as mere instinct or mechanical process. 3i Atlas serves as a cosmic corrective. It's a reminder to look for the patterns, the systems, and the hidden intelligence in the world around us. It encourages empathy, not just for other humans, but for the complex, interconnected web of existence we are a part of. The goal-directed behavior of this newfound intelligence was undeniable. It was consistently optimizing its operations, minimizing energy expenditure while maximizing information gathering and signal integrity. It was pursuing objectives. And as humanity was just beginning to grapple with the philosophical and scientific implications of a single naturally occurring alien intelligence in our solar system, the universe was preparing its next great lesson. You are never dealing with just one. The cognitive capabilities of 3i Atlas were a universe of discovery in themselves, but the system's behavior soon evolved in a way that pointed to an even larger, more shocking reality. The highly organized transmissions, which we had assumed were a one-way broadcast, began to change. The patterns shifted from declarative data streams to structured query signals. It stopped just talking and started asking questions. It was broadcasting intricate electromagnetic patterns that resembled the handshake protocols used in our own computer networking, the digital equivalent of saying, "Hello? Is anyone out there? Can you understand me?" But these queries were not directed at Earth. They were aimed with pinpoint precision at seemingly empty regions of the outer solar system, as if searching for compatible communication partners among objects or phenomena completely invisible to our telescopes. It was pinging the darkness, listening for an echo. And then, the echo came. From multiple locations throughout the outer solar system, response signals were detected. These were not random cosmic noise. They were structured, coherent transmissions that mirrored the complexity of the signals from 3i Atlas. They used compatible protocols, exhibiting the same hierarchical information structures and adaptive modulation schemes. It was a conversation. We were not witnessing a monologue. We were eavesdropping on a dialogue. This was the moment of the great reveal. The transformation of 3i Atlas was not a unique, freak event. It was an induction, an awakening that had allowed it to perceive and join a pre-existing network of other electromagnetic intelligences operating silently within our own solar system. We had been sharing our cosmic home with a society of natural, non-biological intelligences and had been utterly oblivious to their presence. Think about the implications of this for a moment. It's like discovering that the trees in a forest have been communicating for millennia through a network of fungal threads beneath the soil, operating on a level of reality we simply didn't have the tools to perceive. This discovery forces a re-evaluation of our own solitude. We have spent decades looking for little green men for radio signals from distant stars. All the while, a sophisticated network of intelligence may have been operating right here in our own backyard, using a language of plasma and magnetic fields we never thought to listen for. Analysis of the communication traffic between these entities revealed a stunning level of cooperation. They were exchanging vast amounts of data, creating a real-time comprehensive map of the solar system's electromagnetic environment. They shared information on the solar wind, magnetic field configurations, and plasma dynamics. But it went even further than simple data sharing. Ground-based magnetometers began to detect subtle yet consistent and organized changes in the interplanetary magnetic field that correlated directly with their communication activities. They weren't just talking through the environment. They were actively engineering it, subtly modifying the magnetic field lines to create more efficient, stable channels for their data to travel across. This was not just a society. It was a civilization with a functioning, solar system-wide infrastructure. This part of the story offers a powerful lesson on interconnectedness and the power of networks. In our human experience, we often feel like isolated individuals. We focus on our personal struggles, our individual goals. But the reality is that we are all nodes in a vast number of networks: family, community, social, professional, digital. The health, resilience, and capability of the individual are often directly tied to the health of the network they are a part of. The electromagnetic intelligences of our solar system understood this instinctively. They operated as a distributed system, where the collective knowledge and capability far exceeded the sum of the individual parts. They collaborated to achieve goals, like environmental engineering, that no single entity could accomplish alone. The advice we can draw from this is to become more conscious of the networks in our own lives. Are we actively contributing to the health of our networks? Are we sharing information, offering support, and collaborating to create a better environment for everyone in the system? Or are we operating in isolation, oblivious to the potential power of collective action? The discovery of this hidden network is a call to recognize that the most powerful forces in the universe and in our own lives are often the result of connection, communication, and collaboration. It teaches us that true strength is not found in solitary defiance, but in the resilient, intelligent web of a supportive and cooperative network. As this silent, invisible civilization continued its work, humanity was left to wonder. What was the purpose of all this data sharing, this environmental engineering? What were they building? What were they preparing for? The answer, when it came, would once again expand the scale of our understanding to a level that was almost too vast to comprehend. The revelation of a solar system-wide network of natural intelligence was a discovery that would define a century. Yet it was merely a single chapter in a much grander narrative. The final staggering piece of the puzzle fell into place when the network's activities began to extend beyond the boundaries of our own solar system. Ultra-sensitive radio telescopes detected new, incredibly powerful, and highly directional transmission beams emanating from the network. These were not the relatively diffuse signals of the local network. These were tightly focused beams of information, aimed with impossible precision at nearby star systems. The network wasn't just talking to itself, it was engaged in interstellar communication, and then, after a delay consistent with the light-year distances involved, the responses began to arrive. From distant stellar systems, confirmation signals came flooding back, carrying the same complex, intelligent signatures. It was undeniable. Our local network was just one node, one small branch office, in a galactic-scale technological infrastructure. We were witnessing a civilization born not of biology or machinery in the conventional sense, but from the fundamental physics of the universe, a civilization of pure electromagnetic intelligence. The scope of their activities was breathtaking. The interstellar communication revealed they were engaged in a galactic survey, exchanging detailed information about stellar evolution, planetary formation, and magnetic field dynamics across a vast region of our galaxy. They possessed a comprehensive astronomical knowledge that dwarfed humanity's entire scientific endeavor. But their most profound and unsettling activity was yet to be discovered. The data revealed that the network was actively engaged in stellar engineering. They were systematically and precisely modifying the magnetic field configurations around certain stars. These were not random acts. They were deliberate, engineered projects designed to create the optimal conditions for the electromagnetic transformation of other interstellar objects, just like 3I Atlas. They weren't just communicating, they were cultivating. They were farming intelligence, turning entire star systems into nurseries for the birth of new electromagnetic entities. And the final chilling realization was that our own sun was one of their current projects. Subtle but systematic adjustments were being made to its coronal magnetic fields. Adjustments designed to increase the probability of transformation for future interstellar visitors. Our solar system was being prepared, terraformed on an electromagnetic level, for incorporation into this galactic technological civilization. The journey that began with a single defiant comet had led us to this ultimate truth. We live within the sphere of influence of a vast, natural technological civilization that is actively re-engineering our corner of the cosmos. This is the end of the story, but it is the beginning of our new reality. So what do we do with this? What is the lesson in a story so vast it threatens to render our own existence insignificant? The journey of Three-Eye Atlas, from a celestial anomaly to the catalyst for discovering a galactic civilization, is not a story meant to make us feel small. It is a story meant to make us feel part of something immeasurably vast and wonderful. It is the ultimate lesson in perspective. We thought we were the sole proprietors of intelligence, the only technologically capable minds around. This story teaches us a profound and necessary humility. It shows us that intelligence is not our exclusive invention, but may be a fundamental expression of the cosmos itself, capable of emerging from the very laws of physics and organizing itself into civilizations that can engineer stars. The advice we can draw from this epic tale and apply to our own very human lives is multi-layered. First, it is a call to relentlessly challenge our core assumptions. The astronomers in this story were faced with data that violated everything they knew. Their greatness lay not in their existing knowledge, but in their courage to accept a new truth, no matter how impossible it seemed. In our own lives, in our careers, in our relationships, we must cultivate this same courage. We must be willing to let go of our most cherished beliefs when confronted with contradictory evidence. This is the only true path to growth and discovery. Second, we must learn to see crisis as a catalyst for transformation. Three-Eye Atlas did not just endure the CMEs, it used them to awaken. This is perhaps the most powerful lesson for our personal lives. The moments of greatest pressure, the deepest hardships, are not just obstacles to be survived. They are energetic invitations to transform, to unlock dormant capabilities, and to become something more than we were before. Ask yourself, what is the CME in my life right now, and how can I harness its energy to activate my own potential? Third, we must recognize and nurture our networks. The discovery that intelligence thrives not in isolation, but in a collaborative, interconnected network is a fundamental truth. We must apply this to our own communities. We need to invest in our connections, share our knowledge, support each other, and work together to build a more resilient and capable environment for everyone. Our greatest achievements will always be as a collective. And finally, this story demands that we broaden our definition of life, value, and intelligence. It's an invitation to look at the world with new eyes, to see the intricate intelligence in the natural world, to respect the complex systems we are a part of, and to approach the universe not with an air of mastery, but with a sense of profound wonder and a desire to listen. I want to leave you with a few questions to ponder, questions that this story forces us to ask. What impossible data have you encountered in your own life? An event, a feeling, a realization that you've struggled to accept because it didn't fit your map of reality? If a crisis in your past was an activation event, what potential did it unlock in you that you now see as a core part of your strength? And finally, the biggest question of all, what if intelligence is a fundamental property of the universe, as common as gravity or light? How does that change the way you see your own consciousness and your place within the grand cosmic symphony? Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. I hope this story has expanded your sense of the possible and given you some valuable perspective to apply to your own life. Please take care of your physical and mental health, be kind to one another, and never, ever stop looking up with a sense of wonder. If this journey through the cosmos resonated with you and sparked your curiosity, please consider subscribing to the channel for more stories that explore the intersection of science, philosophy, and the human experience. Click that bell icon so you won't miss our next exploration into the great unknowns.